Right, last week we covered the different levels for doing. Grappling with someone standing up is very different to grappling when you are seated and they are standing, and then it's even more different when they're on their knees, blah-de-blah. A person with knowledge of how to pin me down and hold me down is with the superior knowledge of being able to do that is going to be the winner or the better player, or win whatever the outcome, whatever your purpose is of learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. All right. So last week we looked at techniques where it's not even a technique. I was just holding the legs, asking the person to escape, to just try to squirm your way out. And it's difficult, it's awkward, but he will get out. The next thing, I was holding the knees, just trying to squirm out. Again, awkward, therefore he might get out. And then I moved up, asked you guys to just pin down the hips and just try and get out this way. Actually much harder, look what he's doing, and I'm following him. So we're going to concentrate a lot of this on this today. Actually, all come on that side, so I don't have to be like on one of the Chinese restaurants when you turn me around. I'll have that one, please. Chicken cashews. I do that joke every time, don't we? This is the technique we're going to do. We're comfortable now with being on the ground, or we should be at least familiar with the fact that I now have to do work with my knees on the ground. I'm not able to just stand up, or he's not standing. I have to keep him on the ground. That's my job now. Not only do I have to keep him on the ground, I have to progress my position. When I mean progress position, there are areas of the body that you control that are not going to do the job for you very well. For example, down here. Yeah, sure, I can annoy him a bit and hold him down, but eventually he's going to free. I really want to control the main area of his body, which are his shoulders and his hips. I like to talk about the four corners principle. Imagine his torso is a box. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 corners of a box. 2 shoulders, 2 hips. If you can control 3 of them, fantastic, you're winning. If you can control 2, then you're doing half the job, but you can just about control him. If you control all 4, fantastic. It's very hard for him to escape. And that's your job at this stage, stop him escaping. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a drill where we're imagining the 2 hips, okay, first of all, as the 2 corners of the box that we're going to control. And we are going to clamp our elbow here on his hip, and we're going to clamp my hip bone against his hip bone here. Just here, and I'm going to sit on the floor, and I'm going to lean in like this. That's all I'm going to do. Just elbow and hip, and you have to make contact, tight contact with his hip. All right, and then you ask your opponent just to try and wriggle out. Maybe he doesn't know any techniques, maybe he does. What you want to avoid is, as he hip escapes out, that you're being stretched out. That's what you want to avoid. So if you find there's a little bit of space between, for example, my hip and his hip, so if he just wiggles out that way, I have to close distance. Okay, and then ask him, just wiggle out, keep him here. If that's a bit boring, you can do the reverse version. Same thing again, clamp on the elbow, clamp on your hip bone to his hip bone here. Okay, and that's it. I'm not doing anything else. Not grabbing skin, just holding here. So ask your partner to wiggle out and just following him. And this allows you to follow. So already you're starting to control what he can and can't do, and we will add more to this today. Anybody didn't see a part of it, want to see it again, or it's obvious what you want to do? Yeah, okay, find a partner. It helps if it's roughly your size, but it's not imperative. And work on that drill just for a minute or so. Okay, guys? Let's go. Let's advance on this one, so I'm Dean again. So we were here. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing, but we're going to up. Now what am I controlling? His 2 shoulders, but we have to be a little bit more specific about how we do this. All right? I can't just sit here clamping my elbow in, because it just hit the safe away. Down. I need a specific way to hold him in order to make it more effective. Because one of the problems with Jiu-Jitsu and all the grappling arts, to be honest, when you're trying to do pin downs and hold downs, the hips are the most powerful part of his body. And if he can move them, then he has a very good chance of escaping. We'll talk about that later. But for now, I want you to understand the difference between controlling somebody here and controlling someone here. So follow these movements. What I first want to do is go underneath his armpit here, so split my legs apart, and grab his arm tight. This is what they teach beginners in kids class in judo. Right? I'm not wrong, am I? That's what they do. The first thing they learn. What this does is this controls two shoulders, because it's very hard to put a weight on here. Right? The way you control the shoulders is just by freezing them out of action here. Now this, if you come around that side, you can see. I'll show you how to get into this here. So we were here. Now imagine you shifted yourself all the way up. Exactly the same thing. Now this hand has to go underneath his armpit. And you just grab his shoulder if you want. Okay, this is like a beginner's version. This arm is now should be available. Just hug it. Now it helps to just split your legs apart. If they're too close together like this, you're a little bit unstable down there. Don't worry about that detail too much. The most important thing is I want you to immobilize his shoulders like this. And you are facing him. Okay? And you just ask your partner to wiggle out. It's very hard, isn't it? Although you can move your hips, by isolating the shoulders, it doesn't serve any purpose. Okay. So, just to reiterate again, I was here, I've seen you all do this, you can all do this. But you're shifting along, exactly the same position. This hand goes underneath, cups the shoulder, keeps it out of action. This one cups around about the tricep, pull it up, split your legs apart, and face him. Alright, the more you start turning, kind of the worse it is for you in terms of your ability to control the shoulders. See the shoulders are coming up, now you can power into me. Don't do that. Keep your weight on top. Okay guys, just for a minute or so. So far we've learned about controlling the hips and we've learned about controlling the shoulders, alright? This position is just know it as the scaffold, also Kezigatami in judo, right? Weirdly enough, you can also do it in a sort of reverse setting here. So do you remember that I asked you to do this before, controlling hips? You can sort of do it from here. And if you want to try it, you might as well, but I recommend you just grab onto whatever, if your opponent has a belt, then hold onto the belt. If they don't have a belt, then they've got the hemline of their pants, and you have to clamp in your elbow tight and very tight. So just ask your opponent to wiggle around, and you follow them. And you can sort of pin them down. You want to try that for a few minutes, just so you have the full complement of switching from side to side. The main emphasis of there that I wanted you to be aware of is that there are four corners to control. You have the two hips, you have the two shoulders. And if you control any two of them, not bad. If you control three, fantastic. But the one you just did, interestingly enough, it controls all four corners. Oh, right, Dean. There we go. If you are on that side, you do reverse Kezigatami. Here, and you hold my belt. Push it down. Yeah. So his weight and his locking of the elbow controls this shoulder and that shoulder. I can't lift it up. I can't do it. He's too high for me to push him. So then I try to move my hips around. He just follows me, and he's actually controlling my hips. So he has great control. Although it sort of seems like a weird position, and I'm saying it's not. You don't see this a lot, but it effectively fulfills the concept of controlling all four corners, therefore not allowing me to escape, and giving him perfect opportunity to do what he wants to do. In this case, he'll just step over to mount. We'll talk about mount in a minute. I want to carry on from side control. Just to give you a reason of why I showed you that technique, we're now going to learn about controlling all four corners, therefore giving us best ability to control him when he's on the ground. Now, so far, the two techniques, I just showed you two positions where we're facing and we're facing away. There is a position where I'm absolutely 90 degrees to him. My body is across here. The way not to do it is here. Just push me off. Okay. The way to do it is here. It's the only time where you are 90 degrees, that it's acceptable for you to do the completely 90 degrees. Chest to chest. If you are chest to belly, useless. Don't do it, ever. I'd rather you switch to this. Something else. Don't do this and hope in hell that the environment does not work. Okay? If you're in the security or whatever, we were talking about this earlier, and your assailant falls down, don't pin him down like this. Even if with no knowledge, he will get out. Do have knowledge, chest to chest, here. Now that's not good enough because he's free to move. I need to control what? Shoulders. The way we're going to control the shoulders is I control one arm. So you see his arms conveniently underneath my armpit, and I just put this here. We're going to talk about this bit later on. But for now, just hug here. If you can, grab underneath the armpit. Now knee, this time my knee does the job of what my hip used to do. It goes right up against his hip. My elbow does the same job as before. Controls here. Chest to chest, head down. See this knee here? This knee hugs really tight. So the position I'm in without Dean is this. Okay, or just make sure, see my elbow here and my knee very, very tight. So with Dean. So you need the arm free. And hug in very tight. Make sure your knee is touching his hip. Make sure your elbow is clamping in. Make sure you're hugging his shoulder and you are isolating this arm so it can't move. And ask your opponent to just wiggle out. It's hard. So that's the best situation you can be in terms of how to control it from the side. If you're interested in MMA, this is not too bad. I guess he could punch me, try and punch me. You certainly can't headbutt me. Can he bite me? Yeah. It's worthy of discussion because it's the root of our art where people are fighting and stuff and don't get involved in that. I just do jiu-jitsu. So try that, guys. Or anyone want to see that again? Or was that okay? Yeah? I'll go around and help you anyway. All right? Remember the position that we were in, all right? This very nice, what we call just basic side control. Some people call it 100 kilos. Just basic side control. Chest on chest, I'm very 90 transverse. I'm 90 degrees to him, all right? My knee is wedged up against his hip. My knee actually is, if you can, is underneath his shoulder. That gives you really good control over that shoulder. For some people that, for various reasons, you're not going to quite get that. But if you can, it's right underneath. So I'm basically just kneeling here, like a wide-legged kneel here, okay? This one is here, and this one goes underneath. Now, a lot of people clamping their hands, that's great technique. You can also cup underneath his armpits. Right? Whatever he does doesn't matter, all right? Here's an extra, you need a fifth control point. And the fifth control point is the control of his head. What you want to do is drive his head to look away. Now how am I going to do that? Because I have both my hands occupied. Right? If I take this away to push it, I've lost control of the shoulder. Well, the answer is you use your own shoulder. So what you do is you drive that shoulder across and he looks away. And why do we do this? Well, I think either the next lesson or the lesson after, we'll show you how to escape from these positions. And the number one escape method is to turn and face me. See what he did? He turned and faced me. If he turned away from me, fantastic, I've got what I want. All sorts of attacks and horrible things can happen. That's another rule we have to enforce. Never turn your back on your opponent. It's the same in boxing, it's the same in jiu-jitsu. Alright? I say never, there are rules. So we want to stop him turning into me. If I make him look away and ask Dean to turn into me, it's very weird. I haven't put any strength or pressure. You can't do it. So we're going to ask you, partners, to just please don't twist each other's heads off. I'm trusting you on this. All right? Just put your hand here and ask your partner to turn and face you. The lightest of pressure. Now imagine that light pressure is your shoulder. And we're doing the same technique again. And ask your partner to turn into you. It's very weird, isn't it? Yeah. So a little bit of jiu-jitsu magic there. It's not magic, it's just mechanics. Same technique, but you're adding the elements of your shoulder to make them and it doesn't take a lot. Just the lightest of pressure to make them look away from you. And then ask your partner to escape by turning into, and you can't do it. Just that. We call that the cross face. And I always thought it's because you made them cross. But apparently it's not, it's because it's making them look across. I don't know, I have to check with my instructor. Right? It's just the cross face, alright? Just when I say cross face, you do that. Okay guys? Jiu-jitsu is all about positional progression. So you always get a better position. So you think with that going on, with chest on chest, it's a good position and you can finish the job and you can say, great, I know jiu-jitsu, go home now. Unfortunately, it's not always like that. There are ways to escape, and I'll show you escapes to all of these. either next week or the week after. Let's progress position to an even better position. Head here, body here. So chest on chest, arm isolated underneath. With gripping, I'm using my shoulder. Oh, this is also called shoulder of justice. I love that. So if you like work out, you have this massive shoulder here. Well, Marcel's not here today. You can get him to demonstrate. Massive shoulder here. You can just drive it in. It's horrible. Okay, look. So we are creating a lot of pressure on here. He's not liking it, and I'm squeezing, and I'm just using the opportunity. And look, he's not noticing that I'm just gliding through. And we're in what I taught last week, which is the low mount. I'm low because my hips are low down and they're pressuring down on his hips. This, with my feet here, is called the grapevine. I'm not stretching out, I'm stretching up. Which, when I stretch up, my hips go down, my arms go out. Okay, and ask your partner to try and just wiggle out of here. Don't have a lazy grapevine, don't just put your feet here. No, he just gets rid of them. It's got to be like this. Now this is like old school. People used to go, hey, punch, 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 punch. All right. That was the purpose of that technique, but it pins the hips down. So what I want you to do, this is your technique. You've got time for this and one more. Shoulder of justice, or the cross face. You're giving them so much grief. Just glide your knee across. Now don't do this. Don't glide and reach so far over, he just pushes you over and go, whoa. You have to maintain the same chest pressure throughout. That's where the timing and practice and the repetition of the technique comes in. Chest pressure comes in. See, I'm not moving my body at all. This purpose has a purpose. Comes in. And pull their ears. Alright? Okay, let's go, guys. We've learned to control the hips. We've learned to control the shoulders. And we learn to control both hips and shoulders with two techniques. Planting down here, which is great, but you get a bit stuck. Or traditional side mount control here, which is very good, nothing wrong with that, with a bit of shoulder of justice. Okay, and you're giving him so much grief, sliding across. We're taking low mount, grapevining, spreading out, but guess what? He's very good at releasing this, and you can't be doing that all the time. So what we're going to do now is hand underneath, wrap the head, finger crawl. See what a finger crawl? It opens his elbow out. And I move my knee in to replace the space. Now he can't close his elbow down. Swap around again. Finger crawl. Replace the space. Now look where I am. I'm sat on his chest, not on his hips. This is a great position for me. I'll show you the difference. If I'm sat on his hips, he just lifts his hips up and I'm really unstable. If I'm sat on his chest, lifts his hips up, there's a slight elevation, but it doesn't mean much. From here you can do loads of things. If you like punching people, you can punch. There's not much they can do punching on the chin. Okay, bang, right? I have to show you that because that's the reason why high mount exists. But high mount ultimately exists because you want to start playing jiu-jitsu techniques. Trust me, high mount is great, horrible thing. So, full thing again for you, this is our closing technique. Start off with your nice cross face position. You're giving them so much grief, he doesn't notice you gliding across. He releases, if he's struggling, just let him release. You have to grab the head again, shoulder of justice again, horrible. Underneath the arm, walk it out as much as you can, fill the space, other side. Same on the other side. Fill the space. Keep going until you can't go anymore. And sit. Ask them to bridge their hips up. Should be fine. Okay? Punching optional. Okay guys, last technique, let's go. Every instructor around the world will say that's a really good place to be. You should aim to get high mount. One caveat to that, some people are really are you quite flexible? Wayne? Yeah, exactly. Get the legs. No way. Alright. I'm assuming legs behind over the head. Okay, I'll do it on you. So as you get time out, you can watch out. Some people are really flexible and they get their feet up here, and it's technically a rubbish technique because you're so compromised. But if you catch them by surprise, I've seen people do it in competitions, and it can be done. All right, so just be aware of that. So back and mount. So if you get high mount, be aware, especially if you're sat bolt upright, that some people will, because you can't see it coming, but you can kind of anticipate it's going to come. He just puts his arms and bats it away. So yeah, bats it away. Or if I do get into a position where I'm over his body, he just flicks it out, flicks it out of the way. Yeah. Shrugs them out of the way. But don't go, oh my god, he's got his foot there, and then this happens, alright? I just wanted to throw that in because you're new and you think, yeah, Seymour taught me Hyman, yeah, I'm winning, oh, his foot coming out. Alright, don't say I didn't warn you. Apart from that, we learned about hip control, shoulder control, side mount, moving on to transitioning onto low mount and then high mount. So lots of information, actually like 12 weeks for them. We'll go into more detail. Next week, what am I doing next week? I think it might be submissions. So elbow pads, neck brace, earmuffs. We'll show you, I think submissions is on next week. Anyway, come again next week. Apart from that, everyone line up. Or if you're only here for 7:30, line up. We'll be here for the next class.